With the help of Mockingbird media members, the Democrats have been busily telling conservatives something that Chris Bray said. I think Chris can say so much in a headline that it takes other people an entire paragraph to say. Chris wrote, "You need to watch your tone while we're shooting you." It's a perfect headline. It describes what the Democrats are doing in their Kirk Derangement Syndrome state. Charlie Kirk's progress at the age of 31, what he'd built at the age of 31, the difference he's made at the age of 31, and much more problematically for them, the fact that he was making that difference on college campuses and an eternal difference. This is letting God work through him to change souls, not just votes, but souls, is a huge problem for the Democrats, and so they've gone fully deranged. With the Mockingbird media, we're seeing headline after headline after headline saying Republicans cautioned to watch their tone, to adjust their rhetoric. In other words, look, we're sorry one of your guys got unalived, but you need to stop talking about your guy getting unalived. And when you do talk about getting your guy unalived, you need to talk this in a very kind and understanding voice. Otherwise, we're going to be forced to continue to hit you. Baby, honey don't want to have to beat you upside the noggin, but you keep crying so loud. You got to cry quieter. And it's Democrats who have the track record that we can point to say on the topic of rhetoric, do you really mean that we need to cool our rhetoric? Here's some clips towards that point. This is the unbelievably do-nothing Chris Murphy, whose job is to go on TV.
Our only opportunity, our only chance to save our democracy is to fight fire with fire right now. So, yeah, do I bemoan the fact that, we're now blowing up norms? Yes, but literally for 2 seconds, because if you spend any more than that being sorry for the fact that the old world doesn't exist, then your democracy is gone. Like we're in a war right now to save this country, and so you have to be willing to do whatever is necessary in order to save the country.
When I hear that, I wonder is there enough people that believe that same thing? And until you get more to believe that may be why the Democrats aren't rowing in the same direction yet.
You can't get people to believe it if you don't act like it.
We're in a war. Okay. If you're in a war, then it's okay to take out the other side's commander or general or colonel. See, this is the Kirk Derangement Syndrome. Now, he said this prior to Charlie Kirk being unalived, but the Derangement Syndrome is telling Democrats to go and say to Republicans, you need to watch your tone while we're beating you. As we're beating you, say thank you and modify how you speak. Ali Vesci on MSNBC, he likewise contributed to an environment that creates a circumstance where people think it's an existential threat, but we need to watch our tone.
Yet the leadership of the Democratic Party cannot seem to find the front of the battle line. Political leaders who think their job is to keep the government open and cut deals and make strongly worded statements to the media and on the floor of Congress are missing this moment entirely. Americans are begging for more, begging them to get off the mat and get back into the fight. So if you are a political leader in this country and you are not prepared to fight with both hands, you're not prepared to make good trouble, then perhaps you should step aside and make space for those who will. For those who will show us that they can fight a bit dirty if that's what the defense of democracy takes.
Well, you know what? We're going to fight a little bit dirty because defending democracy requires that we fight a little bit dirty. So define dirty. Taking a guy out permanently, pretty dirty. But then again, both hands. And Democrat Mockingbird media sources continue to say to Republicans, hey, look, we're sorry your guy got unalived. That's sad and all, but you need to modify your speech. When people create circumstances like this, they're begging for outcomes like we've seen. This is Tim Waltz. Remember him? He's that guy who figured out how to change the oil in a car without dirtying your hands. He was a guy who was brought on to the Cammie Harris ticket because he was the only person they could find that was a dimmer bulb than Cammie.
You get up in the morning and you doom scroll through things, and although I will say this, the last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. Just saying. There will be news sometime, just so you know, there will be news.
This was around the time that people were making attempts to unalive President Trump. There might be news. There might be news soon. Sounds like he's hopeful that President Trump would be unalived. Do you remember when President Trump was almost unalived? Do you remember when he was shot in the ear and people mocked him for having been shot in the ear? People mocked that circumstance and then they forgot about it. Thank God we know more about Tyler Robinson than we did of the young man whose name I can't recall, you probably can't either, who was allowed to walk into a public facility with a rangefinder, get up on a roof, and sit there. Bizarre circumstance, but yes, we need to watch our tone. This is State Representative Justin Jones. Listen to this discussion and tell me, if you are someone who's mentally unstable, someone who buys the idea that the entire Republican Party wants to put same-sex attracted people in cages and prison camps and people who are gender defiant that they want to wipe out completely. If you listen to this, and this is a state rep who is supposedly a respectful human being, would you concur then that all of a sudden it seems that we are legitimately in a state of war and maybe we should start taking out the colonels and the lieutenants and the generals?
You have set this flavor out there a while ago that people want fighters. And right now, the voters are screaming out for this. They want people who will say, your morals should be good, but if they're burning the house down, you need to do something.
Your morals should be good, but that but always separates your morals should be good, but not good.
I mean, that's exactly right, Brother Ali. You know, the house is on fire. We have to stop pretending like we don't smell the smoke. It's time for America to wake up and put our morals above our manners. Now is not the time to engage in trying to play patty cake with a party that's been captured by fascists and neo-Confederates. There is no bipartisanship anymore with a party that is intent on maintaining minority rule between tech oligarchs, white supremacists, and Christian nationalists. They want a minority-run government, and they're willing to do this at any means necessary. We must fight back. You know, I think that we will be judged not by what we do, but by what we don't do to future generations. Now is the time to lean into the instinct to say that we must meet with proportionate response to the forces that we face, and so we can look our children, our future generations in the face and say we did everything in our power to stand up and fight back, to save our democracy. Because if we're serious about the threat of fascism, that means that there is nothing off the table. If we're really serious about the threat that we face, that means we'll use everything at our table to fight back.
There's nothing off the table. So unaliving one of the most influential conservative activists in history, that's off the table, right? Nope, nothing's off the table. What if it creates a bunch of follow-on attacks? So be it. Let's not put our manners above our morals. Everything's on the table. If that man had different colored skin and was on another party and was speaking this way, that man would have been made famous. That man is not famous. Few people know who he is, and Ali Vesci had him on that show on purpose. Remember the funny comedian Stephen Colbert, who was so funny that his show tanked in the ratings and it's being funnily taken away? Stephen Colbert is so funny. Sometimes, I don't know if you've ever seen this, sometimes he uses the F word. It is so edgy. Here's Stephen Colbert, and he's talking about rumors that President Trump had died.
I came back in the office. I was shocked to learn that this weekend, the biggest story was frenzied social media rumors speculating whether Donald Trump had died. For the record, Donald Trump is very much alive, okay? And no, we like our presidents alive.
That's your response? Maybe. I would fall on this side of that equation because Stephen Colbert is not a particularly funny man. I would fall on this side of that equation. That the producers prior gave direction: when you see the happy face, be happy, and then help Stephen out. And when you see the sad face, be sad. I'll bet you. But yeah, we need to moderate our tone because it's us with the problem. And this is a continuation. This is the pre-state of the Kirk Derangement Syndrome. Arend Girdaris on MSNBC attacked Democrat leadership, and they wanted to see more confrontational nature from these people.
Culture of niceties, of not making mistakes, of triple checking things, of being careful. Right? That's what people in the Harvard faculty lounge do. And there's a place for that. But winning political fights against an authoritarian takeover is not that. And so, yeah, a government shutdown is a perfect example of something that could absolutely transform the dynamic of this country and actually create a real opposition and galvanize the public against Trump. And it could fail, and it could make people hate you. And you should absolutely take that risk if you're in politics. We sit at this table every day. If you want people not to think anything badly of you, no one should sit at this table, right? To try anything, to try to have any impact on anything means taking risks. And people whose lodestar is risk aversion, and if you've listened to any major Democratic leader give a speech in the last year, you have understood people whose lodestar is risk aversion. You're just not adequate to this moment. And I say, I know these people, some of them are my friends. If you are not up to this moment, there is no shame in golfing. It is a wonderful sport. There's no shame in going to that law firm. There's no shame in becoming the lobbyist you've always dreamed of being. But get out of the way. There are people who know how to fight. Get out of their way.
Okay, so fight, fight, fight. Nothing is off the table. Tom Elliott, who runs a company called Graby and a lot of other things, put that together. And the Kirk Derangement Syndrome is so thick already with people that we, on the conservative side, are being told we need to watch our tone. And this extends into other areas. These people are paid to speak. They're paid to divide. They're paid to run out the psyop that all of our neighbors are insane, that we need to hate our neighbor, which is the most, well, it's not the most ungodly thing, but it's distinctly ungodly. They're paid to divide. They're paid to carry this out. They benefit from carrying this out. But look at some of the victims of this. I'll show you this thing just a second from Office Depot. There is a fact of life in business. Pick the partners well. Don't maybe use Home Depot until this is taken care of, until we see that these people have been fired. I would stay away from Office Depot. Did I say Home Depot? Office Depot until this is taken care of. It's just a quick message to them. People are going to act this way when we want to print a sign for a vigil that's simply a man's name and the day he was born and his picture and the day he was unalived. Let us do that. And pick very carefully who stewards your money. One of the reasons I love Zach Abraham, Chief Investment Officer of Bulwark Capital Management, he's become my friend and brother. He's on our show once a week, almost every week on Friday, is because I heard about him from a dear friend. My dearly departed friend, Dory Monson, was a great dominant conservative radio host in Seattle for almost 30 years, until I think the COVID shots took him from us. Dory made a decision a lot of us begged him to not do. He told me you need to meet my friend Zach. I met Zach. And I loved what he said about the monetary system. This was long, long ago. He was talking about the problem with inflation and the fact that the Federal Reserve doesn't get this. And man, it all made sense to me. Then I saw him in private at a philanthropic event. I saw where he puts his money, how he stewards his money. Now, all these years later, he manages our money, 90% of it. He won't let us put it all with him, because what if he has a bad year? Zach is putting out a free live webinar that's called Back to Basics, because, man, this is a time of incredible volatility. And do we really need to say why, given the topic of what we're talking about right now? So Back to Basics is his way of dealing with these insane times. And he's going to talk about his outlook for 2025, the performance this year, and get into detail about how they manage risk at Bulwark, because that is what animates Zach every day. This is coming up October 2nd at 3:30 Pacific. Just go to knowyourriskpodcast.com. It's free. You just have to register to attend knowyourriskpodcast.com. Investment advisory services offered through Trek Financial LLC and SEC registered investment advisor. Investments involve risk and are not guaranteed. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Trek 25-298. Pam Bondi says she's going to go after Office Depot for this thing that happened. This is an extension of Kirk Derangement Syndrome. It is on display in an Office Depot, and it came downhill from the people we just showed on TV telling everyone nothing is off the table.
Thank you. So, we came in for an order earlier to print a poster for a vigil.
All it is a picture of Charlie Kirk, his name and born date and date that he was unalived.
Yeah, so
for somebody that passed. It's not
it's propaganda. I'm sorry. We don't put that here.
Alrighty. So, what's your name?
Farrell. I'm print supervisor.
I'm one of the managers.
Yes.
So, unfortunately,
So they say they don't print
We don't
political
put that.
propaganda. So this is somebody that passed away a couple years
That's
ago from
political
Ebola.
propaganda, unfortunately. I'm
So
sorry.
this is for a prayer tonight, for a prayer vigil?
It's still propaganda, unfortunately.
I've heard
What
other
makes it
things.
propaganda?
Because he's a political figure, and I don't have to. Yeah.
Our general manager is going to be in on Monday. If you
No,
want to
it's
speak
totally
further
okay.
on
No,
the
we have-
subject,
we have
If you would like to,
you are
lawyers.
welcome to return.
We've got response, we've got lawyers, and you have Pam Bondi, who may one day get off Fox News and go look at something like this because she's not going to look at much serious. She doesn't have Kirk Derangement Syndrome, they do, but let us not be deranged. Let us not remember that we're to love our neighbor as ourselves, and in fact, the harder thing is to love our enemies. Let us not give in to this psyop. Let us not in ourselves become deranged with anger at what they helped set up to be done to Charlie Kirk. Let us instead carry out part of Charlie Kirk's legacy, a big part of it, which was following in the footsteps of the Lord Jesus, who did not say, hate thy enemy. He said, love thy enemy. Doesn't mean we don't talk about things, even in honest ways. We always will. Sometimes honest ways can come across as harsh, because sometimes the truth seems harsh.